Have you ever really stopped to wonder how someone finds a reason to live? I mean, truly persist, even when they're faced with just unimaginable suffering.
It's such a fundamental question, isn't it? A huge existential challenge.
Yeah, it echoes through history, really touches every single human experience. And maybe now, in our world, with all the information overload, the constant challenges, understanding this kind of deep resilience feels, I don't know, more urgent than ever.
It really does. It's this deep human quest, finding meaning, especially when everything else seems completely lost. It's a theme you see across time, across cultures, a universal thread, really.
And guiding us through this incredibly deep, intensely personal territory today is a truly foundational work. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
Ah, yes. A powerful one.
And this isn't just some academic text Frankl wrote from a distance, right? It's a testament forged in the absolute crucible of his own survival. He was a psychiatrist, yes, but also profoundly a Holocaust survivor.
That perspective is just unique. It blends rigorous clinical observation with the raw, brutal reality of extreme lived experience.
His insights don't just offer theoretical comfort, do they?
Not at all. They provide a practical, yet deeply profound framework. It's about how to confront suffering with an internal strength that, frankly, few other philosophies can even approach. He lived it. He proved it worked in the most extreme conditions you can imagine.
So for you, listening right now, what's our mission today? We're going to try and unpack Frankl's groundbreaking theory of logotherapy.
Right, and this isn't about chasing fleeting pleasures or even striving for power, like some other theories might suggest.
Exactly. Logotherapy suggests our primary drive, the very core of what makes us human, is actually the pursuit of meaning.
That search for purpose?
So our mission here is to explore how deeply understanding and maybe embracing this perspective can cultivate a kind of unshakable resilience within you. Think of this as your essential shortcut, maybe, to being truly well-informed about a life-altering philosophy, one that can really reshape how you approach every single challenge.
And as we dig into Frankl's work, we'll also see, I think, that his quest for meaning isn't some isolated idea. It resonates really powerfully through various spiritual, philosophical traditions, across millennia even.
Like a universal human drive.
Exactly. A drive for purpose, for inner strength. We'll see how even when every external comfort, every possession is stripped away, there's a core, an indomitable essence that remains. And that offers hope, offers direction.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our first core idea. The unshakable core, Frankl's ultimate freedom. To really get Frankl's insights, we absolutely have to start, I think, by understanding the context, the unimaginable context of his experiences.
It's crucial. He was imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, a backdrop of just extreme, systematic suffering, designed really to strip away every shred of human dignity, hope, individuality.
Yet it was precisely there, in that environment, that abyss of human cruelty, that his most profound insights were born.
That environment isn't just a historical footnote, is it? It's the crucible. It tested and ultimately validated his theories. He wasn't developing these ideas in some ivory tower.
No.
He was literally at the depths of human degradation. Observing himself, observing others, under conditions where just staying alive was a daily fight against annihilation. He didn't just theorize about meaning, he witnessed its life-saving power firsthand.
Wow.
He wrote something incredibly powerful, chilling actually. I'll share it in the original Indonesian first for its impact, then translate. Manusialah makhluk yang menciptakan kamar gas di kamp Auschwitz. Namun manusia pula makhluk yang masuk ke dalam kamar gas itu.
Okay, translate that for us.
Man is the creature who invented the gas chambers of Auschwitz, but he's also the creature who entered those gas chambers.
Wow. That hits hard. It's incredibly stark. It forces us to confront this absolute dual nature of humanity, doesn't it?
Completely.
On one hand, this capacity for unimaginable systemic evil, and at the exact same time, an equally profound, almost miraculous capacity for resilience, endurance, inner strength. The paradox defines us, maybe.
It absolutely is. And that quote isn't just a historical observation. It's like a philosophical anchor for everything else in his work. It suggests that within the human spirit, there's both this terrifying potential for extreme destruction and an equally astonishing, even inspiring ability to endure. to resist, to find meaning even when facing that kind of manufactured horror. It really sets the stage for his most central idea, the ultimate freedom to choose one's response. It's almost uncomfortable facing that both extremes exist within us.
And this is where it gets really, really interesting because it leads right to Frankl's core idea about ultimate freedom. He observed that even when prisoners were stripped of everything, possessions, loved ones, physical freedom, their very identity, a person still retained the last of the human freedoms. To choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. What an incredible thing to assert in such a place.
It's a truly radical concept, especially when you apply it to those extreme, dehumanizing situations. It suggests that even in total physical subjugation, your internal landscape remains your own. It's a sanctuary. Choice, however limited, still lives there.
So you never truly have nothing.
Exactly. Not as long as you maintain that fundamental freedom, the freedom to choose your attitude, your internal stance. It's like an internal sovereignty, a sacred space that no external force, no matter how brutal, can fully conquer or take away. The last frontier of the self.
You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking about Michael Singer's work in The Untethered Soul. He talks about not closing around pain.
Yes. Great connection.
He suggests that instead of resisting something that's already happened, which he says gets stuck in your psyche and seriously affects you, you can consciously choose to relax instead of closing, and then it just will work its way through you.
Right. Let it flow.
This internal freedom Frankl talks about, choosing your attitude, it really aligns with Singer's idea, doesn't it? Allowing that blocked energy to release naturally, leading to freedom from being constantly bothered by even the worst things life throws at you, letting life flow through you, not getting trapped by it.
That's a really astute connection. Singer provides a kind of mechanism for how Frankl's chosen attitude actually works internally. When you choose not to close around suffering, you are actively exercising that last human freedom.
Right. You're doing it.
You're stopping the external trauma from becoming an internal prison. You let the emotional residue, the energetic stuff, pass through without getting stuck in your psyche and causing more trouble down the line. It creates this vital difference between the external event, which you might not control, and your internal experience, over which you always retain ultimate authority. It's being an agent of your internal reality, not just a victim of circumstance.
And for you listening, this insight directly addresses that feeling of overwhelm, that information overload so many of us face.
Oh, definitely.
Think about it. The constant stream of news, emails, social media, demands. It can feel suffocating. But by consciously choosing your attitude towards it all, deciding not to close around the negativity or the anxiety it might spark.
You regain control.
Exactly. You regain control over your internal experience.
Yeah.
You stop those external things, the information itself, from overwhelming you, from getting stuck and draining your energy. You can process it without being consumed by it. You maintain your inner calm, your clarity.
It really changes passive reception into active, intentional engagement. You're not just filtering content, you're filtering and processing based on your chosen internal response. That's logotherapy in action right there in a very modern, practical way.
Yeah.
It empowers you to navigate this crazy digital world without losing yourself, without losing your peace.
Which brings us nicely to logotherapy itself, the will to meaning. So Frankl defines logotherapy as focusing squarely on this will to meaning. He proposes pretty radically for his time that our primary human drive isn't pleasure. It isn't power. It's the pursuit of what we find deeply meaningful. Meaning itself. It's a fundamental human longing.
And this was, and honestly still is, a direct challenge to many prevailing psychological theories. Freud, for instance, often put the pleasure principle first. Others might point to Adler's will to power.
Right.
Frankl just shifts the whole paradigm. He says, no, what truly drives us, especially when we're facing adversity or maybe an existential void, is this inherent search for purpose, for significance, for something larger than ourselves to live for. It's a deep-seated, intrinsic need.
He gives such a powerful example, doesn't he? Stating that people who punya alasan mengapa harus hidup yang memungkinkan mereka mampu menghadapi bagaimana caranya hidup.
Yes, the why and the how.
Which translates to had a reason why to live, which enabled them to cope with how to live.
That's just profound. It suggests that having a clear, deep meaning provides the fundamental strength to endure even the most unimaginable hardships.
It flips the script.
Yeah.
From just surviving to thriving through purpose, because you have something worth surviving for.
That why is the absolute bedrock of resilience. Without it, the how can become unbearable really quickly, leads to despair, giving up. It's like an internal compass that guides you through the most disorienting, painful experiences, gives you a stable point when everything else is falling apart.
The why doesn't take the suffering away, though.
No, not at all. But it gives suffering context. It transforms it from just a senseless burden into something with potential. Potential for growth, for transcendence, finding purpose within the pain.
And it connects so beautifully to wisdom from other ancient traditions, too, like in the Dhammapada, the Buddhist text.
Mm-hmm.
It emphasizes that one would not abandon one's own purpose because of the purpose of another, even though great. Instead, you should be intent on the true purpose, having well understood one's own purpose.
That reinforces the internal nature of it.
Right. It's not about selfishness, but it reinforces that internal, self-defined nature of meaning Frankl champions.
Mm-hmm.
Discovering and committing to your authentic purpose, not just adopting someone else's, no matter how noble it looks from the outside.
Precisely. The Dhammapada really highlights the deeply personal, internal nature of this quest. It's not something external you acquire or someone imposes on you. It's an understanding, a commitment to your own authentic purpose, regardless of external pressures or how great someone else's path seems. That individual alignment with your calling is key to inner peace, steadfastness.
And you can see this taken to a really deep spiritual level, almost all-encompassing, in the Bhagavad Gita.
Ah, yes, the Hindu scripture.
Yeah, there's this concept of kanta consciousness as a path to self-realization. And in this framework, you act just to satisfy Kane. Your whole goal in life becomes acting in kanta consciousness.
A singular focus.
Exactly. It provides this spiritual framework for a higher purpose. All your duties, everything you do, is performed with this one spiritual objective. It becomes a perfect sacrifice.
And the text describes this state, anandamaya.
Right, which means like a state of inherent all-blissfulness.
Exactly. Achieved by aligning or dovetailing yourself completely with the Supreme.
Wow.
What's fascinating is how the Gita elevates that will to meaning into this divine context. It's not just personal purpose. It's aligning your entire being, every single action, with the supreme blissful consciousness. That provides an ultimate why that transcends individual suffering. Your duties, your actions become this perfect sacrifice.
And the promise is that state of anandamaya.
Right. A profound inherent joy, not dependent on external circumstances at all, but on that deep, unwavering purpose found through devotion, through service. It offers a complete framework for meaning that can sustain you through pretty much any worldly challenge.
So whether it's intensely personal, self-defined, or spiritually aligned with a higher power, this search for meaning keeps emerging as this foundational force, providing strength, direction. Even when life feels completely chaotic or meaningless, it really does seem hardwired into us.
It certainly seems that way, a fundamental human need.
Okay, let's move seamlessly into section 2 then.
Yeah.
Navigating the landscape of suffering and negativity. Frankl's framework, as we said, it doesn't deny pain. It doesn't gloss over the harsh realities.
Absolutely not. It's not about pretending suffering doesn't exist.
Right. It acknowledges the raw reality of hardship and then offers this radical way to transcend its destructive, soul-crushing power.
To deny suffering would invalidate Frankl's own experience, wouldn't it? And the experience of countless others. His insights aren't born from some naive optimism.
No Pollyanna here.
Definitely not. They come from a profound, unflinching understanding that suffering is inevitable. It's an integral part of being human. The real power of logotherapy is showing us how to transform that suffering, how to find meaning within it, rather than just trying to avoid it or suppress it. It's a philosophy for the brave, really, willing to face reality head on.
He makes this really striking observation about people returning from the camps. Those who initially thought, kebebasan, a community of freedom, had finally arrived.
Yeah. The liberation.
They often experience their camp life, looking back as mimpi buruk, a nightmare. But then, he says, for some, the peak experience, the profound realization was, tidak ada lagi yang perlu dia takutkan kecuali Tuhannya.
Nothing more to fear except God.
Yeah. That's an extraordinary shift in perspective, a complete reordering of reality after all that suffering.
It highlights the sheer psychological complexity of liberation after trauma like that. Freedom wasn't an instant fix. It often brought its own kind of existential crisis, a vacuum where the struggle used to be.
Right, not now.
Exactly. The camp experience becomes a past nightmare. But the lesson gleaned by some was this ultimate reevaluation of fear itself. To say, nothing more to fear except God, implies this recognition of a higher power, a greater purpose, maybe a moral absolute that transcends even the most brutal human cruelty.
A total shift in values.
A profound shift. All earthly fears, all human-inflicted pain, just pale in comparison to this spiritual or ultimate accountability. It's a powerful, deeply personal transformation of your whole worldview.
That is a truly profound transformation. It makes me think, in a different way, about grief and loss in St. Teresa of Avila's interior castle.
How so?
She talks about how, even in states of high spiritual peace, you can still feel great sorrow being unable to do more when you see God offended or souls lost. This specific grief caused by seeing how often God is offended and by considering how many souls are lost.
Oh, a spiritual grief.
Right, but it can be transformed into this fierce desire to act, a profound intention to intervene, alleviate suffering, even if it brings tears. It's a different kind of suffering, sure, but it's also transmuted into a higher purpose, to compassionate action.
That beautifully highlights that suffering isn't just personal. It can be this deep, empathic anguish for the spiritual state of humanity. And crucially, like you said, this grief, rather than paralyzing you, becomes a potent catalyst for action, a fervent desire to alleviate spiritual suffering, even if your own capacity feels limited. It turns internal pain into outward-directed, compassionate intention, shows how even deep sorrow can be a pathway to purpose, to active, selfless love, not letting even spiritual pain go to waste, but using it.
Which leads us naturally, I think, to rejecting negativity and illusion.
Yeah.
Because Frankl observed that so much of our suffering comes not just from what happens to us, but how we perceive it, how we interpret it.
Or internal lens.
Exactly. A Course in Miracles, that spiritual text, talks about the ego. It says the ego focuses on error and overlooks truth. It makes real every mistake it perceives.
Magnifies the negative.
And then, through this twisted logic, it concludes inconsistency must be true, which leads to this idea that error is real and truth is error. That aligns so perfectly with Frankl's insight that our perception profoundly shapes our reality and therefore our suffering.
That insight from A Course in Miracles is absolutely crucial. It shows the mind's active role in creating and perpetuating suffering. The ego's circular reasoning traps us, doesn't it? In this distorted reality where our mistakes are magnified, our flaws are made real, and truth is just dismissed.
Yeah.
If we believe error is real, then our reality becomes this constant struggle against perceived flaws in ourselves and the world. Frankl's teaching on choosing your attitude is a direct challenge to that egoic trap. It invites us to see beyond those perceived errors, choose a different, more truthful interpretation.
And Eckhart Tolle, in The Power of Now, expands on this. He explains how all inner resistance is experienced as negativity.
Simple but profound.
Tolle says the ego, in its delusion, falsely believes through negativity it can manipulate reality and get what it wants, but, he states flatly, negativity does not work.
It's a core delusion.
Right. This is so crucial for understanding how to break free from suffering. If you think being miserable, resisting, complaining is somehow going to change things or get you what you want, you're just creating more misery for yourself, for others. It's totally self-defeating.
It's a powerful observation. Tolle nails negativity as this fundamental form of resistance, refusing to accept the present moment as it is. The ego's belief that negativity can control reality is a foundational delusion perpetuating our suffering. Frankl's emphasis on finding meaning despite circumstances directly confronts this. It suggests true freedom isn't trying to manipulate external reality through negative resistance, but transcending that need to control externally. Finding internal purpose and acceptance instead, recognizing the futility of fighting what already is.
It also really resonates with the Fifth Agreement, that spiritual self-help book. It suggests the story you're dreaming today is not the same story that you were dreaming yesterday.
Our reality is a fluid narrative.
Yeah. They say our reality is a virtual reality or a shared dream, and that lies are just a distortion of the word. The real conflict ultimately is between truth and lies. This perspective just profoundly challenges our basic perception of what's real and how much of our suffering is actually self-created, self-perpetuated through these distorted stories or beliefs we hold.
What's fascinating there is the idea that our perception isn't just subjective, it's actively constructive. Our dream of reality is fluid, constantly shaped by our beliefs, our narratives, our cultural conditioning.
Makes the truth versus lies thing critical.
Absolutely paramount. If we're caught in a dream built on distortions, on lies, then our suffering is a direct result of that self-created reality. Frankl's call to find meaning then becomes an invitation to wake up to a more authentic, purposeful narrative within that shared dream, to choose a truth that actually serves our growth.
Okay, so if we understand that a lot of our suffering comes from perceptions, from resistance, how do we shift? How do we move from being trapped in these negative illusions to something more constructive, more liberating?
That's the crucial step.
Which brings us to transforming pain into purpose.
Mm.
It's about practicing a kind of radical acceptance, a profound shift in how we relate to our experiences.
Mm-hmm. Acceptance, not resignation.
Right. The Buddha taught that desire becomes a problem only when it takes over our sense of who we are. He advocated relating to desire without getting possessed by it and without resisting it, experiencing it merely as a rising and passing phenomenon.
Watching it.
Yeah.
Yep.
This powerful principle applies equally to suffering, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing it as a temporary phenomenon, not as you, not as your identity.
Exactly. That's the profound move from identifying with our suffering or desires to objectively observing them. When we identify with them, they define us. They become who we are. Radical acceptance, like the Buddha taught, is about consciously creating space. Space between the observer you and the observed, the desire, the suffering. This lets these powerful internal forces arise and pass without you getting tangled up in their story, without resisting them, and crucially, without letting them define your core self. This detachment, paradoxically, allows for a deeper, more conscious engagement with life as it actually is.
Pema Chodron, the Buddhist nun, she offers really practical guidance on this in When Things Fall Apart. 3 powerful methods for working with chaos, with suffering.
Yes, her work is so helpful.
The first she calls no struggle, which means dissolve the dualistic struggle, letting the storylines go, and simply stop struggling. Just drop the fight.
That directly counters the ego's negativity, the resistance we were just talking about.
Totally. It's about disengaging from that instinctive fight-or-flight response to difficulty. By consciously stopping the struggle against what is, whether it's a feeling you don't like, an external event, a challenging thought, you conserve huge amounts of energy that would otherwise be wasted on futile resistance.
It's an act of profound surrender. But paradoxically, that surrender opens the door to genuine agency. It lets you interact with reality as it is, not as you wish it was. It's like consciously choosing to drop your weapons, especially the ones aimed at yourself.
Then the second method Chodron offers is poison as medicine.
Ooh, intriguing.
Yeah. This suggests we take a different attitude towards suffering. Instead of pushing personal pain away, ignoring it, numbing it, she encourages us to breathe it in with the wish that everyone could stop hurting, with the wish that people everywhere could experience contentment in their hearts.
Wow, that is radical.
Isn't it? It transforms purely personal pain into compassionate action, turns suffering from this isolating burden into a source of universal connection, empathy.
That's a radical act of empathy, of transmutation. It expands your personal suffering to this universal compassionate intention. By breathing in your own pain and breathing out the wish for others' well-being, you actively break free from the isolation, the self-absorption that often comes with suffering.
Connects you to something larger.
Exactly. Connects you to the larger human experience. You find profound purpose in aspiring to alleviate others' pain, even if that action is initially just internal. It's a way to make your own pain meaningful.
And the third method is wisdom in everything, which means regarding everything that arises as the manifestation of wisdom.
Seeing everything as a teacher.
Right. This shifts our whole perspective from victimhood, where things happen to us, to continuous learning, continuous growth. It encourages seeing challenges not as punishments or bad luck, but as profound opportunities. Opportunities for deeper understanding, for refining our character, for evolving.
That's a profound reframing of reality itself. It posits that there's inherent wisdom in all experiences, even the most difficult, chaotic, painful ones. By adopting that perspective, obstacles become teachers. Every event, no matter how challenging, becomes a lesson in this ongoing process of personal spiritual evolution. It's a continuous, active search for meaning within every single moment. Recognizing even the bad stuff carries valuable instruction.
And a crucial step in all of this, often overlooked, I think, for any of these transformations to really stick, is self-compassion.
Ah, yes.
Foundational. Dr. Kristen Neff, Tar Brock, in works like Radical Acceptance, they talk about the revolutionary act of treating ourselves tenderly.
Revolutionary is the right word.
And this act, they say, can undo the aversive messages of a lifetime, even if it feels strange and unfamiliar at first, or even embarrassing. Deliberate self-compassion is vital. It's non-negotiable in transforming pain. It lets us heal those internal wounds, silence the inner critic that makes us so vulnerable to suffering in the first place.
Self-compassion is absolutely foundational. You can't genuinely extend compassion outward, use poison as medicine for others if you're constantly at war with yourself. It's about recognizing your inherent worthiness, your fundamental goodness, even amidst flaws, failures, suffering. By offering ourselves tenderness, understanding, we create the internal safety, the psychological space needed to process pain and begin that transformative journey Frankl describes. It lets us engage with life from a place of strength, not self-judgment or self-recrimination. It's like nurturing the ground where meaning can actually grow.
It really is all about cultivating that rich inner world, isn't it? The freedom to choose, the will to meaning, transforming pain, all these efforts set the stage for how we actually find that meaning, how we discover purpose in our own lives every day.
Exactly. It prepares the soil.
So let's explore section 3, the search for meaning, diverse paths, and discoveries. Because this isn't a one-size-fits-all journey, is it?
Not at all. Countless avenues.
But Frankl consistently points towards an internal locus of meaning. It's not about waiting for meaning to be handed to you. It's about finding it within yourself, or in your chosen response to the world.
That's such a crucial distinction. The external world can definitely provide prompts, contexts, opportunities for meaning, but the ultimate source, the validation of that meaning, truly resides within. It's about how we interpret and respond to life's challenges, life's blessings, rather than just what life throws at us. It's an active internal process of creation, not just passive reception.
A perfect example of this internal journey has to be Siddhartha's in Hermann Hesse's novel.
Ah, yes. Classic example.
We trace his profound disillusionment with all the external pursuits. First, extreme asceticism with the samanas, then the indulgent merchant life, then sensual pleasures with Kamala. He tries everything the world offers.
Runs the gamut.
And ultimately finds himself alone, empty like a castaway on the shore. His turning point is that stark realization. Nothing which was alive he had left in his hands. He had accumulated so much, tried so many paths, but nothing truly nourishing, nothing meaningful remained inside him.
What's so powerful about Siddhartha's journey is that systematic dismantling of conventional paths to fulfillment. He experiences the futility of external achievements, pleasures, even renunciations, when they lack a genuine internal anchor. That realization, nothing which was alive he had left in his hands, signifies the profound emptiness of a life lived without real inner connection and purpose.
A real existential crisis moment.
Absolutely. It forces him to turn inward, sets the stage for his deepest internal shift. He had to lose everything external to find everything internal.
It's only after that realization, that utter emptiness, that the river becomes his teacher. Unexpected, but profound.
The ferryman.
Yeah, he learns from the simple ferryman, Vasudeva, that the river has taught me to listen. From it, you will learn it as well. It knows everything. The river, everything can be learned from it. And crucially, the river teaches him to strive downwards, to sink, to seek depth.
Beautiful metaphor.
It's not about literal sinking, obviously. It symbolizes finding meaning, not in outward striving ambition, but in humility, in simple, authentic existence, and ultimately, in becoming a humble ferryman himself, just present to the flow of life.
It's a beautiful allegory for that internal quest. The river, constantly flowing, inherently deep, interconnected, represents the wisdom available when you move beyond the superficial, beyond outward striving. To strive downwards, to sink, to seek depth, signifies that journey into your inner self, letting go of egoic ambition, external validation in favor of a humble, service-oriented purpose.
That mirrors Frankl's self-transcendence idea.
Directly, finding meaning beyond the self. Siddhartha finds his purpose not in becoming some great sage, but just in serving others and listening to life.
In connecting this back to Frankl, Siddhartha's journey is a perfect example of choosing an internal response to an unsatisfying external life. He moves from seeking validation, enlightenment, pleasure in external forms, to finding deep, humble purpose, not in worldly success, but just in being present, listening, serving. That's pure logotherapy in action, finding meaning in the immediate, authentic experience of just existing right here, right now.
Absolutely. The ferryman, in his humble service, his deep listening, embodies the idea that meaning isn't always grandiose. It's often found in the simple, present acts of being, connection, contribution. His internal shift transforms his external circumstance, a seemingly ordinary job, into a profound spiritual path, a deeply meaningful life.
Beyond this really internal search, though, many people also find profound meaning through spiritual practice and connection.
Definitely another major pathway.
The Way of a Pilgrim, that anonymous Russian classic, talks about a constant prayer. It explains how the practice of constant prayer would constantly distract the soul from sinful acts, and it would draw the soul to what it knows to be the most essential thing of all union with God.
Constant redirection.
Yeah, and it's not just casual prayer. It's described as the surest and quickest way to acquiring the fruits of this prayer. Suggests a really focused, immersive path.
This illustrates a very direct, intentional path to meaning. That constant, repetitive practice isn't just ritual, it's a profound reorientation of the mind. A continuous redirection of attention away from external distractions, internal negative thoughts, towards that central unifying purpose, union with the divine. It's an active, conscious cultivation of the spiritual core, providing a stable, unwavering anchor for your existence. It's a deliberate act of choosing your focus, much like Frankl's choice of attitude.
And the text goes further, emphasizing the self-existing and self-acting beneficent powers within the name of Jesus Christ, leading to transformation from weak and negligent people into heroic ascetics and champions of virtue.
That's an active transformation.
Right. It represents this active, chosen path to meaning through spiritual devotion. The very act of invoking a sacred name becomes a source of inner strength, moral courage, purposeful transformation, like an internal spiritual technology almost.
It moves beyond passive belief to active, engaged spiritual practice. The beneficent powers of the name act as a transformative force, not just inspiring, but actively changing character, strengthening will, increasing capacity for virtuous action. It shows how an external spiritual focus, when deeply internalized, can become an incredibly potent internal wellspring of meaning and resilience, shaping your very being.
We also see this immense importance of withdrawing from external distraction to cultivate the inner world, whether it's Thoreau and Walden or Marcus Aurelius in his meditations.
Two great examples of introspection.
Thoreau's character finds a glorious existence as possible by letting his mind descend into his body and redeem it, and treat himself with ever-increasing respect, grounding internally. And Marcus Aurelius advises us to withdraw their admiration and desire from objects that are merely pleasurable, and direct them instead to objects of inward worth and beauty.
Both advocating an internal focus.
Yeah, a deliberate turning away from external noise, fleeting pleasures to find something more enduring within.
These are timeless calls to introspection, to self-governance. Thoreau's glorious existence, Marcus Aurelius's inward worth and beauty. They both point to the idea that external pursuits, if left unchecked, just dissipate our energy, scatter our attention, leave us feeling empty. By consciously redirecting focus inward, we cultivate a rich inner world. That becomes a robust source of meaning, a wellspring of contentment, independent of fluctuating external circumstances. It's a deliberate, active choice for self-preservation and profound self-discovery.
And this cultivation of the inner world can also be achieved, maybe more formally, by entering the silence through systematic exercise in passive relaxation, concentration, and meditation, as William James described in The Varieties of Religious Experience.
The practical techniques.
Right. This allows for deep introspection, and for some, can even lead to a continual prayer state, a sustained, conscious connection to something deeper. It's a conscious discipline, a dedicated practice connecting with deeper reserves of meaning beneath the surface of everyday consciousness.
That systematic approach speaks to the universality and effectiveness of these practices across traditions. Whether you call it meditation, contemplation, entering the silence, the underlying goal is the same. Quiet the external clamor, quiet the internal mental chatter to access a deeper, more profound level of consciousness.
And that state allows for
Profound self-awareness, a sustained connection to spiritual or transcendent meaning, which can indeed feel like a continual prayer, a constant state of communion, of presence.
Finally, in this search for meaning, we find profound guidance in ethics and action as meaning. It's not just about internal states or spiritual practices. Fundamentally, it's about how we live, how we interact with the world, with others.
How meaning translates into behavior.
Exactly. Consider Jesus' teaching in Bonhoeffer's The Cost of Discipleship. Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for your abusers.
Extremely challenging.
Totally. And it's presented not as just a passive feeling, but as a transformative love that asks nothing in return but seeks those who need it. This kind of radical, transformative love can be an incredibly profound source of meaning, especially when directed towards those who are consumed with hatred and are utterly devoid of love, precisely when it's hardest.
That is an extraordinary ethical framework. It reframes love not as just an emotion depending on getting something back, but as a deliberate active choice. A will to do good, especially towards those who challenge us most, those least deserving, in a conventional sense.
In Frankl's terms,
Right, in Frankl's terms, choosing this attitude, this proactive love, in the face of hostility or injustice is the ultimate exercise of human freedom. And in doing that, you find profound meaning in self-transcendent compassion, in service even to your adversaries, choosing to create love even when it's absent.
We see a parallel concept in the Dhammapada again. One who lives Dhamma sleeps at ease, in this world and also in the next.
Living according to Dhamma.
Yeah, Dhamma meaning righteous conduct, living by universal moral law. This emphasizes ethical conduct not just as a duty, but as a direct path to profound peace and purpose. Living a righteous, principled life, aligning with a moral code, brings this deep, unwavering sense of calm and meaning that transcends immediate circumstances.
It speaks to the inherent internal reward of virtuous living. Dhamma, righteous conduct, isn't just about following external rules. It's aligning your actions, your very being, with a deep ethical core that brings internal harmony, peace. This alignment fosters that state of ease, inner calm, provides a clear pathway to meaning that goes beyond immediate gratification and extends into this pervasive sense of well-being, both in this life and in this spiritual context, the next.
And Aldous Huxley, in The Perennial Philosophy, ties it all together beautifully, doesn't he? He states that virtue is the essential preliminary to the mystical experience.
Virtue as the gateway.
Yeah. He suggests you must be good, at least in some slight measure, to gain knowledge of God, and crucially, to realize your unity with all being, you must practice the virtue of love and understanding. This directly connects ethical living, the active practice of love, to profound meaning and a deeper, more expansive understanding of reality itself. Suggests morality isn't just arbitrary rules, but a pathway to truth.
That insight establishes virtue not as an end in itself, but as a necessary precondition for deeper spiritual insight, for realizing ultimate meaning. It suggests ethical conduct effectively clears the internal lens, allowing us to perceive our interconnectedness with all being, to see the divine in ourselves and others. Love and understanding, then, aren't just moral imperatives, they're essential tools for perceiving the truth of unity, which is itself a profound source of meaning. It's through living ethically that we become capable of truly perceiving the meaningfulness of existence.
So whether it's deep introspection like Siddhartha, dedicated spiritual devotion like the pilgrim, or radical ethical action like Jesus taught, the search for meaning is this active, dynamic process. It shapes our experience and ultimately builds that unshakable resilience.
It absolutely does. It's the foundation.
Now we enter section 4, the fruits of meaning, resilience, connection, and wholeness. What happens when we really commit to this search? When we live Frankl's logotherapy, one of the most powerful outcomes is moving beyond fear towards love. It's like a fundamental shift in our operating system.
This is really the ultimate transformation Frankl's work points towards. Fear is inherently constricting, right? Isolating, born from perceived lack, threat, separation. Love, on the other hand, is expansive. It connects us to something larger, humanity, nature, the divine. Shifting from fear-based to love-based existence is a fundamental reorientation of our entire being, moving from scarcity to abundance.
Gary Zukov, in The Seat of the Soul, highlights this critical difference. He explains that acting on fear, such as anger, resentment, and jealousy, creates painful consequences, while when we act with love, such as gratitude, appreciation, patience, and caring, we create blissful consequences.
Cause and effect.
Exactly. Spiritual growth then becomes this conscious choice. Seeing everything as an opportunity to create with love instead of fear, it transforms every interaction, every challenge, every moment into a chance to choose that higher, more life-affirming path.
That articulates a fundamental spiritual law, really. A law of consciousness. Our intentions, our actions, whether rooted in fear or love, profoundly shape our reality, our experience. It's recognizing cause and effect, maybe even a spiritual law of attraction in a broader sense. By consciously choosing love in our actions, thoughts, attitudes, we not only create more blissful, meaningful experiences for ourselves, but we also attract similar energies, similar opportunities, fostering this virtuous cycle that cultivates authentic power and deep, abiding meaning.
And Michael Singer, back in The Untethered Soul, takes this even further, describing what happens when you're truly comfortable with pain passing through you, that radical acceptance we talked about.
Yes, what lies beyond acceptance?
He says you eventually find an ocean of love behind all of this fear and pain. That force will sustain you by feeding your heart from deep within. This speaks to the ultimate outcome, doesn't it? Fully embracing Frankl's freedom, Consciously transforming suffering doesn't just make you resilient, it leads you to this internal, inexhaustible wellspring of love that constantly nourishes you, sustains you, regardless of external conditions.
That's the profound revelation beyond the layers of suffering, resistance, ego. By letting pain pass through without holding on, without identifying with it, you uncover this deeper, fundamental reality within. An ocean of love.
Not just a feeling.
No, not a fleeting emotion. A sustaining, inherent, unconditional force within. An inner current providing constant nourishment, peace. Replacing that old relationship with pain and disturbance. It's the ultimate antidote to meaninglessness, the ultimate proof of that unshakable inner core.
This internal discovery of love, of purpose, it naturally connects us to the unified self and divine presence. When you realize this deep internal source, you inevitably start to perceive the profound interconnectedness of everything.
The boundaries dissolve.
Conversations with God states it so plainly. There is only one of us. You are not separate from me, and you are not separate from each other. Our reality is a co-created reality. That profound understanding of unity fundamentally challenges our common perceptions of isolation, deep-seated fear.
That insight radically shifts our understanding of individuality, moves us from seeing isolated, separate beings to realizing fundamental unity, where all consciousness participates in this co-created reality. This understanding dissolves the illusion of separation, the root cause of so many deep fears. Being alone, not belonging, being judged.
Right.
Instead, it offers the sense of profound belonging, shared purpose, inherent safety within a divine whole. Our very existence becomes a collaborative act.
And in the Enneads, the philosophical works of Plotinus.
The Neoplatonist, yes.
He describes a state where, as contemplation ascends from material nature to soul, then to the divine intellect, the known becomes identical with the contemplator. Thinking and being are identical. Yeah. It describes this state of profound unity, self-sufficiency, where the individual intellect doesn't cease to be distinct, but becomes the intellect of all things, an intellectual, spiritual realization of being one with everything. Subject and object merge.
That's a sophisticated description of a non-dual state of consciousness, where the perceived subject-object distinction just dissolves. The mind, through deep contemplation, introspection, merges with the object of its understanding, realizing its inherent identity with the universal intellect. It's not just knowing about reality, it is reality, a self-sufficient state where existence and cognition are intrinsically linked, leading to this expansive, complete, utterly meaningful sense of self that's boundless.
We hear powerful echoes of this in the ancient Upanishads, those foundational Hindu texts. With the instruction, the subtle part is what all this has is self, and is truth, is the self, you are that, Shvetakata.
Tat Tavamasi.
Exactly. You are that. It directly connects the individual self, the Atman, to ultimate reality, the Brahman. It's such a powerful source of inherent meaning, saying, in essence, your deepest, truest self is not separate from the universe itself. You are intrinsically part of the divine.
Tat Thamasi is one of the most foundational, transformative statements in all of Vedic philosophy, directly affirming that unity of the individual soul, Atman, with the universal absolute Brahman. It offers inherent, profound meaning that bypasses any need for external validation, situates ultimate purpose, ultimate worth within the very fabric of your own being. This realization makes external suffering just a relative experience against an absolute, unified, eternally blissful reality.
And Sam Harris, the contemporary neuroscientist, philosopher, and waking up, he describes an experience of unbounded clarity. He calls it a nothing that found room for everything. Room for grass, trees, shadowy distant hills, and far above them, snow peaks.
The spacious awareness.
Yeah, he beautifully articulates this total presence as his total absence, body and soul, leading to peace and a quiet joy and the sensation of having dropped an intolerable burden. It's like a modern, maybe secular description of non-dual awareness, spiritual liberation where the individual self dissolves into pure, luminous, all-encompassing awareness.
It's a contemporary articulation of that mystical experience of non-duality, accessible even without traditional religious frameworks. The absence of a separate ego-bound self, rather than being frightening or a loss, leads to expansive clarity, profound quiet joy. It's liberation from the burden of self-identification, from the constant anxiety and striving of the ego, allowing for a pure, unfiltered, utterly present experience of reality. This state provides ultimate meaning and peace by transcending the ego's limited, suffering-prone perspective.
All these profound insights build towards resilience as a lived experience. It's not just an abstract concept, a theory, it's a way of being. and active, conscious engagement with
It's
life.
how it actually shows up.
C.S. Lewis, in the Screwtape Letters, offers this really sophisticated understanding of humility, leading to genuine self-acceptance, universal compassion. He writes about God, or the enemy from the devil's view, wanting to kill their animal self-love as soon as possible. But it is his long-term policy, I fear, to restore to them a new kind of self-love, a charity and gratitude for all selves, including their own.
Ah, the transformed self-love.
Right. When they have really learned to love their neighbors as themselves, they will be allowed to love themselves as their neighbors. This whole transformative journey, moving from egoic self-love to universal compassion, forms the very basis of unshakable resilience.
That passage is brilliant. It redefines self-love in this deeply spiritual, ultimately selfless context. It's not narcissism, not self-indulgence. It's a transformed, humble self-acceptance that arises after you've learned and practiced universal compassion. By first extending genuine love, understanding to others, you unlock the capacity for genuine, healthy, humble self-love. A charity and gratitude for all selves, including your own. This interconnected, compassionate love becomes an unshakable foundation for resilience because it transcends individual vulnerability, connects you to the strength of all being.
And finally, a truly inclusive, almost revolutionary vision of where meaning, where sacredness can be found, comes from Robert Pirsig's Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Ah, Percy.
Quality, he states. The Buddha, the Godhead, resides quite as comfortably in the circuits of a digital computer or the gears of a cycle transmission as he does at the top of a mountain or in the petals of a flower.
Love that quote.
It just radically broadens the scope, doesn't it? Where meaning, beauty, sacredness can be discovered, making resilience, spiritual connection accessible in all aspects of life, not just in traditional spiritual settings or grand, awe-inspiring moments.
It's a powerfully democratizing statement about the omnipresence of the sacred, the inherent quality of being, or quality as Pirsig called it. It challenges those conventional boundaries of what we consider spiritual or meaningful. Asserts that divinity, ultimate truth, can be found, experienced in the most mundane, technological, seemingly ordinary parts of existence. By recognizing the Buddha, the Godhead, in a computer circuit as readily as in a flower, we cultivate a worldview where every moment, every object can be a source of profound meaning, and consequently a limitless wellspring of resilience. Finding the sacred in the ordinary makes life itself a spiritual practice.
Wow, what an incredible journey we've taken just now. From the absolute depths of unimaginable suffering in those camps to the heights of spiritual liberation, self-awareness, and the resilience that's available to us right here in our everyday lives.
It covers the full spectrum of human experience, really.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just briefly reiterate Viktor Frankl's central, maybe life-changing message.
Yeah.
Even in the most dire circumstances, even when everything else is stripped away, the ultimate human freedom lies in choosing your attitude and consciously finding meaning.
That core freedom.
His theory of logotherapy highlights our intrinsic fundamental drive for purpose, that will to meaning that's more profound, more enduring than any fleeting desire for pleasure or any transient pursuit of power.
And we've really seen how this seemingly simple yet incredibly powerful idea resonates throughout this rich tapestry of human wisdom, across ages, across cultures.
Yeah, the connections are amazing.
From the ancient philosophies like the Dhammapada, the spiritual devotion of the Bhagavad Gita, to personal journeys like Siddhartha's, and these profound modern insights from the untethered soul, the power of now. The message is remarkably consistent, isn't it?
It really is.
Internal transformation, conscious choice, and that active, intentional pursuit of meaning. They are foundational to cultivating unshakable resilience and living a truly fulfilled life.
It's not about avoiding suffering because, let's face it, that's part of being human.
Impossible to avoid entirely.
Right. Instead, it's about transforming suffering itself. Finding profound freedom in your response, in your attitude, even when everything external feels completely beyond your control. It's about consciously cultivating an inner world so rich with purpose, so imbued with chosen meaning, that external circumstances can never truly diminish your spirit.
This deep dive into Frankl's work, illuminated by all these diverse sources, really does offer you, the listener, a powerful pathway to cultivate that internal strength. It underscores that meaning isn't some treasure you just find lying around.
No.
It's more like a profound truth to be created, chosen, and actively lived, moment by challenging moment, by you.
So we really encourage you, listening now, to actively seek out and define the meaning in your own life. What is your why? What purpose will sustain you through your unique challenges, big and small? What attitude will you choose today?
And just to leave you with a provocative thought, something to maybe mull over. If your reality is indeed a co-created dream, shaped by your perceptions and choices, and if suffering is a sub-reality you can choose to transform rather than just endure, then what grander experience of divinity, of purpose, of joy is waiting to be had by you?
Mm.
And what incredible role will you play in manifesting that starting today?
That's a powerful question to ponder indeed. Thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive. We hope this exploration of meaning, suffering, and unshakable resilience leaves you not just well-informed, but maybe deeply inspired and empowered.
Hope so.
We'll see you next time.